Let's go. Welcome. Happy Monday, everybody. Everybody's on the call live with me in Zoom. Welcome. All right, let's go, man. It is the last Monday of August of 2024. Good to be with you. Great to be here in this conversation. I'm excited about this one, guys. Let's get going. We're going to be talking about, yes, the Truck Profit Accelerator Systems Blueprint, talking about teams. This is the last conversation about teams, guys. And it is about finance and accounting. Ha, that's my wheelhouse, baby. Let's go. All right. We're about to talk about this in detail. Okay. And it's going to be an exciting conversation because I really do have it that this is the most important part of business in and of itself. I got started in business as an entrepreneur decades ago, really when I was a kid, right? But I didn't get real good access to what makes business tick until I started reading one of the books that I read, Robert Kiyosaki's book. Shout out to Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Now, that was one of the major books that I read right back in the day. Then I started on this whole path. It's like, man, the number story, right? It's the numbers, the language of business. The numbers are the language of business. And, I was always good at numbers, even as a kid. I knew how to count money as a kid. I had all these little odd jobs. Like I would go cut lawns, I would cut hair, I would do a paper route. And I was a DJ. I would sell stuff. It's like candy and stuff at school. So I always had something going on as a kid, and I could count money, right? But then I was also good at mathematics. Always did well in math. And when I started realizing, it's funny, man. Had all this stuff going on. I was an entrepreneur from a young age, right? Like a kid. And then my parents, love them, they never said, you should be a business owner. They never said that to me, right? They said, okay, yeah, you're good at math. Be an engineer or computer science or be a math professor, right? All this was there. But man, when I realized, like most of us in this conversation are entrepreneurs. If you're in this conversation, you have a trucking company, right? So by nature, you are a business owner, you're an entrepreneur, and entrepreneurship is where it is at, period. There is no other place to be but in that realm of entrepreneurship. That's my opinion, right? Where when it comes to what to do in life, there's no better place to be than to be an entrepreneur, right? There's no other position in life to have than to be that of a business owner, right? Now, the number story, when I got this for myself, somebody messed up. All right, because now there's that I don't have to have delusions of grandeur anymore. Now I get to have plans for grandeur because of the numbers story. I know exactly what to do based on the reality that's reflected in the numbers. Like I can actually make real solid decisions. I can create whatever it is that I want based on understanding and mastering the number story. Now, my journey began with that decades ago, with learning how to like the number story and being able to read this very, very well and understand how it impacts businesses. I go into rooms a lot of the times with people that do what like we do in terms of the accounting and financing and bookkeeping and everything else, not finance, but financing, but the finance aspect of the business and the bookkeeping aspect of the business and the understanding how to navigate that. Now, I've been in rooms with people like this, and it always seems that somebody else, they're a little off with things, but I know I can see these things because I chose one moment in my life that this was going to be the thing that I master. And it's a journey, right? So I'm continuing to master this. And because of that, people like you, people like the clients we work with, the clients we serve, reap the benefits of it, right? And we'll continue to do so, right? So this is going to be an exciting conversation. I'm glad you're here with me today, wherever it is you're chiming in from the world. If you're right here in a conversation with us right on the Zoom call, welcome again. Let's get this party started. Let's go. All right, so if you didn't know, now you know. Of course you know, right? This is me, Cheston Bulgin. The company is By the Books Consultants, By the Books Consulting. And trucking CFO, tax strategist, your accounting superheroes are what people know me as. And you can reach us at 888-4BTB now. That's 888-428-2669. And the website is youraccountingsuperhero.com. You can still reach me here at Cheston at bythebooksconsultants.com. My new email address is cbulgin@youraccoungsuperhero.com. And of course, I just talked about the background and everything. We help people with this stuff, right? This is the aspect of what we help people with: the numbers, the accounting, the systems that help you do that, the systems that help you run your business, in that respect, the tracking and recording, the tax planning, tax strategy, making sure that people keep their hard-earned money that they make, and then we're able to help with fleet advisory. Those are the things that we do. Now, in terms of what's available right now, we have this group called the Truck Profit Academy. If you're in here from the Truck Profit Academy, watching from that platform, welcome. Good to be with you. And if you're not a part of that platform, you most likely want to be, because we deliver content like this and more in that group. All right. Currently, it is free. All right. When I say free right now, it is free right now. There's no cost to join it. Okay. And it won't be the case come January 1st, 2025. That won't be the same thing. All right. We do have a good amount of people in the group already. We are shifting the platform that we're using for the group. So basically, what that looks like is that if you're currently in the original platform for the Truck Profit Academy, we have created a new platform outside of school, because school was the original platform for Truck Profit Academy that we've been using. We have pivoted to develop our own site for that. It's very similar to what the feel and look of what you are used to in the original platform that we've been using through school. And now we've shifted, we pivoted, and you'll be receiving those communications from now moving forward that we have switched, and we'll be shutting down the old place and moving into the new one, truckprofitacademy.com. Now, there is going to be a link. Let me just put that link for us in the Zoom call while I'm processing it, so that those of you who are here in the Zoom call have that link to join the new group. Grab that link and put that in the chat for the people on this call on Zoom. And that will be in the communication moving forward for the Truck Profit Academy current group, the old group per se. Okay. Now, right now, there's an opportunity to get a free profit and cash flow analysis. Say stop wasting time and increase profits and cash flow as soon as today. That's the promise. Okay. So you can take advantage of this by going to our calendar, www.theaccountingsuperhero.com/calendar. Okay. And that's a powerful conversation that you can have with me or a member of my team, so that you can see exactly where it is that you've been wasting time, wasting efforts, and not keeping your hard-earned money in your pockets, and start making more money, keeping more money today. Let's go. Quick disclaimer before you get started. Following is for educational purposes only, is not to be considered financial, accounting, or legal advice. Please consult your tax, accounting, and or legal professional for specific advice. So this is what we've done, man. We covered a lot in the last few weeks, last several weeks, really. We've covered teams. This is the Truck Profit Accelerator Systems Blueprint, the TPA Systems Blueprint. We started out with talking about technology, tech stack, and we shifted and pivoted to teams. We've been in this conversation for a little while. So we've been in this for about 7 weeks. This is the 7th week of the teams, the team system component of the blueprint. Okay, so there are more things that we talk about in terms of the Truck Profit Accelerator Systems Blueprint. Like, how many of you really go through life? Check for yourself. You go through life in this business, in this industry, day to day, and you're wondering, why are things so chaotic? Why is it that I'm continually stuck in the same places? right? Why is it that, I'm not really getting to the destinations I want to get to fast? You thinking to yourself, I'm smart, I'm hardworking, I'm ambitious, I really want to succeed. But why is it that my journey is slow? Well, most likely because you haven't put these components together in your business. It hasn't been a systematic process for you to create this so that you have leverage, right? The leverage that really gives access to you being able to increase performance, right? So there's a lag in performance and has nothing to do with you. There's nothing broken. There's nothing wrong with you. Okay. It's not like there's some cosmic joke, okay, where you're just doomed and cursed to not get to the levels in life that you want, and there is a way, right? So we've been going over the way that you can actually take the mystery out of this process for yourself and give you a simplified, really, this is simple, like the way that we put this together. We break it down, we talk about it a lot in detail, but really it's simple, right? To put together these systems in your trucking company so that you can have next level results. Like you've been getting results. Yes. You've been working, maybe you've been in the industry for decades, right? And you've been getting results, you've been making money, but it's not quite where you want it to be. And you're wondering why. Why is it not where I want it to be? Well, the main reason is because most likely you haven't put these systems in place. There's a couple other things that might be missing in terms of like we call like the aspects of the ways of being, the culture inside of the company. But for the most part, it's going to be here. Okay. It's going to be here inside of the systems that you have put together, that you have built, that you have created in the trucking company up until now. Right. So we've been in this conversation about the systems blueprint that we have here. This is part number 2, teams. We're going to talk about a couple more sections at another time because we're going to break off of this. This is the last conversation we're going to have in terms of the Truck Profit Accelerator Systems blueprint. And then we're going to be moving into more so the numbers game for tax reasons. All right, tax season is coming up. So next week, starting from next week, we're going to be talking about how to make sure you're set up to win when it comes to file your 2024 tax return. Okay, but today, continue with accounting and finance. Let's go. All right, so some components of this. Okay, now this, there's a methodology here, right? We see it in the bullets here in terms of, what components we want to think about when it comes to putting together the accounting and finance structures in your business, right? What I really want you to get and be left with in this conversation from the jump, okay, is that there is a way where you can, master your trucking company by mastering what you measure in your trucking company, right? And then creating exactly what it is that you want just by looking at the patterns, because the numbers, they never lie. Even when the numbers are not there, they don't lie, but they never do. So when we get access to this clearly, we can see how patterns form in your business and then really create choices, like decisions that you can make to have your business go to another level, right? To have your trucking company go to another level. It doesn't matter what the market is, right? So a lot of people put emphasis on what, the current economy is and what's available and everything else, right? So yeah, there are trends like that we can consider, like we call it the macroeconomic trends inside of where we are, right? If you're in this industry. And there are microeconomic trends that are directly within your control, which means, right? What this means is that your business has a behavior. It has a rhythm to it. Now, if you've gone to a doctor, most people in life, they've gone to doctors and they've gone there for checkups, right? And they've gone there to get measurements. That's the first thing they do when you go to a doctor's visit. They'll take you and they'll do some measurements. They call it taking your vitals, right? Checking your vitals. They'll check your blood pressure. They'll check your weight. They'll check your height. They'll check your BMI, your body mass index, right? And they'll check the rhythm of your heartbeat, right? How fast your heart rate is, right? They'll draw some blood and look at those levels because there's certain numbers there that they want to measure that are within a healthy spectrum that they'll check on, right? To make sure that that you are healthy. Now, and they'll also see that there are trends that happen over time with you and your body. So if you're trending on the downward spiral, like decline, well, we can actually see that on the reports when doctors do their physicals with you, right? So I say, man, when you came in 6 months ago, you weren't this heavy. You put on some weight. BMI is up, cholesterol levels. Look at that, right? They'll see that trend. It's like it's up. And then conversely, they'll see the other way, like if you're actually improving in health, right? Right. And then there are direct actions based on your doctor's visit. If you're doing well, or if you're not doing so well, if your trend is not going in the direction you want it to go, there's specific actions that you will have access to just by going to the doctor and having them measure these things. Get that, right? There are specific actions that you will have available just by going to the doctor and having these measurements taken for your vitals. You know, your business operates the same way. It operates the exact same way, man. So if you take the measurements of your business, like on a day-to-day, if you take your trucking company, you're measuring every single thing about your trucking company every day. Well, you'll get access to a whole set of actions that you would not have access to otherwise. You wouldn't be present to them otherwise, which is why I love the number story, man, because now I can see, okay, exactly what I can do to take my business to the next level, right? We call it what I can measure, I can manage. And what I can manage, I can master. That's a principle, right? What I can measure, I can manage. What I can manage, I can master. Super powerful. And guess what? You're in this conversation right now. As somebody who's a fleet owner, you're ahead of most if you're in this conversation paying attention to this. Because from what I see, most trucking companies that are doing okay and even a little bit better than okay, they've gotten there just by by not even doing this. But what if they did this? Right? They did this. There is so much more available in terms of the fast track trajectory of the business. Not only that, it's like, well, how can they increase their wealth and legacy because of this? There's so many opportunities there. I was talking to one of the people in one of the markets that we work with, and I was looking at their business, and I was like, man, they're doing fantastic. You know, they're doing multiple millions of dollars. You know, more than $10 million in revenue and everything else, doing fantastic, doing great, right? Cash in the bank, man, they're moving forward. And I'm looking at their business structure. I'm like, man, if only they just tweaked their structure a little bit and then added this company over here, right? Um, to to manage the risk level of their asset exposure and all this other things so they can funnel money here and they keep more money there. They can take this and put it in this account over here to make sure that they can grow their assets, right? And keep it tax-free, all that, you know, but I'm seeing them throwing money out the window, throwing money out the window, throwing money out the window, right? And they're fantastic because they figure, hey, I'm making a lot of money, right? But why give it away? Right? Why not give that to your heirs and your heirs' heirs, right? Why not create something that you want, like a foundation or something like that, that you can really make a difference with, rather than letting that money just go to waste, right? That's the opportunity that it is, right? But if they're not present to it, if they're not looking at it, if they're not really watching these, if they're not present to all these things, and there are no actions available, there's no choices available because we just don't know what we don't know, which is why the number story, to me, is one of the most important things about your business. The important, critical factor inside of business. Understanding every aspect of it through this number story. Okay. So what does this look like in terms of putting the structures together? You see some things here like a controller or CFO. Why do we need this? We need somebody with the wherewithal, right? To understand like what these, like when we look at numbers, somebody understands what they mean. How many of you look at numbers like, man, I don't understand none of this. Like, what does that look like? What is this for, man? You know, not even understanding the terminologies. Like, okay, I can see that money came in, but like all these lines, I can see money went out. But you know, how does that make sense? Like, what does it really mean to me, other than that, right? But somebody who actually has a wherewithal that could read numbers, they understand ratios, they understand like the health of the business, just like a doctor, like we talked about before. They understand like what the blood pressure should be, right? And the certain actions that you can take in order to reduce your blood pressure, right? The type of medications, they understand what to deliver and give you to make sure you're maintaining that. All those things are available with somebody who actually has some expertise, the wherewithal, right, to read this and give a direction for it. So, and also at the same point, same thing. The terminology, yeah, the terminology. I got you, Baxter. Baxter's on the line with us today, man. Yeah, the terminology is the problem. It's like hard to understand, right? All these different terminologies for numbers when it can be that simple. It could be simple, but sometimes it's just not. Like if you're not in the game, when I say in the game, I mean that you're not in the daily practice for a long time. of understanding what these ratios are, like in terms of like the number story, like knowing how to read them and what they really mean. Like there is gross profit margin, gross profit margins, you know, there's, you know, net profit, net profit. These are the simple things, right? The net margins. There's also, you know, liquidity ratios. There's also, you know, ratios that help us understand like what our debt to equity should be, you know, what our return on equity, return on assets, all these things. Like what are we looking at performance wise? What is this actually trending at performance wise for, you know, that unit? What is producing you in its trajectory? How much is that asset truly costing you, right? Long term, like we talk about like present value of money and everything else. Like where does the money want to go, right? Those things, like somebody who's pretty good at reading those numbers, you want to have that person in your pocket, right? To understand how to read that number story. If that's not you, then you want to have a partner that can do that. And also a really good controller is somebody who can hold the company accountable, right? Because there are processes like a controller or a CFO, right? There are processes that want to be in place to assure that there's integrity in the measurement of the activity, to make sure that there's integrity in the measurement of the activity. What does that mean? That means that we record every single thing. And there's a process by which we record these things. We record these things. There's an approval process before expenditures happen, and there's certain accounts that expenditures happen from, right? You know, and there are certain customers that we take on, and certain customers that you do not. There are timely billing processes for your customers, and there are timely payment processes for your suppliers. Right, all those things are that they are creating for the company. They're putting those structures in place so that your company runs like a well-oiled machine when it comes to the inflows and outflows of money, and that everything is accounted for. Okay, because it is then and only then will it be easy to see exactly what it is that you get to do inside of your business when those numbers are really the reality, they're the truth for you, right? So a good CFO or controller will be able to have your back in a way where you are clear on your actions based on this number story, and that there is integrity in terms of, am I looking at the truth in this story, right? You want to be able to see the truth, right? So that's really what they deliver, okay? Now, in terms of everything else like down, there are components that we want to consider when it comes to accounting and finance teams. Super important, okay? You want to have all these aspects inside of your business. Now, if you're smaller and if you figure you're just a few people running it, or it might be just you as an owner operator, it's fine. You want to understand these roles, okay? And you may have to play these roles for a little while. But as you grow, you understand how to put people in these roles so that they are completely accounted for, and that there is accountability in these sections of your business so that you keep moving forward with the proper trajectory. Like you keep moving forward in a direction where you're positive, okay? Now, accounts receivable, right? That's what AR is, accounts receivable. It's a major component, right? Without that, you don't have the cash in the bank, right? You're not making money. So we need to have those administrative processes locked down to make sure that cash flows in. Super important, guys. That's the one thing that we need, right? And a lot of technologies and platforms, they have this feature for accounts receivable always because it's so important. They'll not have anything else, right? But they'll have a component where you can actually manage your accounts receivable, okay? This is super important because it's the vital lifeblood of the business, is to make sure cash comes in, and cash comes in from sales. And a lot of times, most of the time, in fact, inside the trucking industry, it's always a net 30 or net 45 or net 60 for your customers, which means they don't have to pay right away. They pay 30, 45, 60 days later. And if they do pay earlier, like a quick pay situation, there's a cost associated with it, right? Nonetheless, you're still not getting money right now, cash in hand. When you deliver, they're not paying anybody cash in hand. They pay that invoice at a later time, be it a day later or 90 days later. That's the deal. So there wants to be a process in place to manage this efficiently, which means that when you deliver your loads, there's a timely processing of this paperwork so that that invoice goes out to your customer. They get billed out now, right, with everything that's wanted and needed. So that is a role in the function of accounts receivable to make sure there is timely billing of your clients and that there's timely payment of your clients or your customers, okay? Now, accounts payable, we know this as well, is when money goes out of the business, we have accounts payable, and typically that's on the same thing, the same process of accounts receivable, but in reverse, which means that maybe you don't have to pay now. You pay 30, 45, 60 days later for your accounts payable, okay? Now, these are really good structures for your expense management because now you can make sure cash comes into the bank before you pay your suppliers. Always a good situation to have. And a lot of times it's not the case that you'll have that in the trucking industry. Most of what you do is cash now. You got to buy fuel, you got to pay cash for it now. You got maintenance costs, they got to be paid right now. There's no 30 days on maintenance. You got to pay before they let the truck go. Before that equipment leaves the yard, they want to be paid, okay, for the most part. And you know, other things like, travel costs, hotels, tolls, all these other things that you get to pay when the truck is actually moving down the road. And those are things that need payment now. Now, we call this expense management, right? In terms of like how that's set up. We want to have a process in there, and it really should say here in that second bullet, AP/expense management, because that's a critical component of it as well, right? How we manage expenses. Well, what accounts are those going to come from? How are we going to make sure that there's ample cash available, right, to pay these costs? Not, even like the payroll, everything else that goes along with that, right? So we want to make sure we have systems in place to make sure we're good in that respect. The bookkeeping is super important. This is the aspect of what I can measure, I can manage. So your bookkeeper or your bookkeeping processes want to be as such so that everything that comes into that business and comes out of that business money-wise is accounted for. Every single penny. It has a place to go as it comes in. Okay, so we know exactly where the money flow is going and where it's coming from and where it's going to. All right, super important. Why? Because what I can measure, I can manage, and what I can manage, I can master. Master meaning that you can make choices that will literally give you a quantum leap result in a positive direction based on what you can see. If the bookkeeping processes are done in a way where they're reflecting the 100% truth right now in reality, right? You can make quick pivots and not have to deal with suffering in your business. Like, man, why am I losing money, bleeding money here? Why am I continuing to do that? Some people go months. Like we found one of our clients that just came on board, and as we came on the onboarding process, we found out that they had money that wasn't in money that they had recorded as paid, but we had no record of the deposit for that. That was like tens of thousands of dollars, right? that wasn't accounted for in terms of deposited, right? But now because they didn't have the proper bookkeeping processes in place, they didn't even know that they had like $10,000+ sitting out there somewhere, right? I don't know about you, but 10,000 is a pretty good amount of money to have just sitting out there hanging out without being accounted for, right? So those are the things that can be resolved when you have this component right where it wants to be. Making sure that you're keeping your money, you know where everything is, and then you have the decisions that you can really count on, right? Real choices that you can make that will make the difference in your business. That makes sense. And then we have the reporting. We're talking about it right now, being able to read the reports. This is your diagnostic for your business. This is your check-in for how much you've won, right? How many of your games that you have won inside of your business, right? And then giving you the access directly when you read these reports and understand what they mean on what choices you can make right now. Not only that, but you'll have things like you'll have these reports available to submit to your finance, like your banks. We're talking about that in a little bit. Your lenders, your banks and your lenders, the people that'll finance you. And even in cases where, the people that supply you, like your insurance company, in a lot of cases, they'll want to do an audit on you to ensure that they're charging you what's wanted and needed for that service. And if you don't have your financials in order or these reports to send to them, well, it's possible that they will cancel your insurance coverage and you won't be in business anymore, right? That's how crucial that is inside of reporting. Okay. Hopefully that makes sense, guys. Now, tax, super important. Understand that we're compliant that way, but not just that, but we understand the risk that we're exposing ourselves to, like how much taxes we're exposing ourselves to, and we can reduce that risk in real time. Super important. so that you're not overexposed and paying more so than necessary in taxes. Okay. And then we have your banking partners, banking part of this, which is important as well. Like, what is going to be the structure? We had a company come in at first, and they had like, I don't know, they had like something like 17 different bank accounts, and they weren't really even doing like 2 million in revenue. It's like, why do you have so many bank accounts? It was like chaos and confusion, right? That's what it was. It was like complete chaos, complete confusion. They couldn't keep track of everything that was coming out of each and every bank, and they just didn't know where cash was at one point, at any point in time. And they had the idea, the concept that it was going to be like a profit first situation. And I get it. The profit first is really good to get clear on like where you're going to put money, but the concept really doesn't want to be in all these different banks. You could segment that internally to understand where it is, right? Through envelopes, processes, and hashing out amounts to make sure you understand exactly where you are budget-wise to spend. Yeah, so super important having the right banking process together, making sure it's simple and it works for your business. And of course, your financiers, your lenders, right? Having really good partners inside of your Rolodex to expand your business, to swap out equipment, to make sure that you're building credit and everything else in the right way. So all this is a part of your financing. These are the basic things that want to be in place for your finance and accounting teams, right? To have it really work, right? Super important, guys. I have it that this is the most important fundamental aspect of your business, right? So I want you to take this information, take it on, and understand how you want this to be inside of your business from now on, like with integrity is what I want to say. Guys, I want to let you know we are at 7:31. We're 1 minute over the time I expected. I wanted to be here. That's my word. I want to be here till 7:30 tonight. I'm glad that you got to be here with me today in this conversation. I'm super excited to be with you next week when we start the conversation that gets more in detail about the numbers in terms of taxes and everything, and how you can actually read numbers and everything and plan for profitability. Excited to get into those conversations with you next week. So until then, have a great rest of your week. See you then. Take care. Bye. Bye. Let's go.